Pluto, a name that, decades ago, any child sitting in an astronomy classroom could recite effortlessly. The ninth planet of the solar system. It was once a familiar part of the cosmic map. A name that evoked mystery, remoteness, and icy solitude at the far edge of the sun's orbit. Yet in 2006, in just a moment, Pluto was stripped of its planetary title. A decision so shocking that many felt as if the entire universe was telling us, forget it, Pluto was never a real planet. But the story behind it is far from simple. And Pluto, along with those who cherish it, refuse to fade into that oblivion. This is the story of a ninth planet that was dethroned, and the unexpected journey that brought Pluto back to the center of modern astronomy. Today, we will explore why Pluto was truly removed from the list of planets, the groundbreaking discoveries from New Horizons, and why, despite being cast out, Pluto remains an irreplaceable symbol in the human heart. It's ironic that in the very year Pluto was demoted, NASA launched New Horizons, one of the fastest spacecraft ever built by humanity. Its mission was remarkably bold: to travel nearly 6.4 billion kilometers to reach Pluto and observe it from a distance closer than anything we had ever achieved before. When New Horizons approached Pluto in 2015, the first images it sent back left the entire world speechless. On that distant, icy surface, we saw mountain ranges made of water ice, towering as high as the Alps. Vast plains shaped like a heart, with a thin atmosphere glowing in a gentle blue light. And there may even be a liquid ocean beneath tens of kilometers of ice. In that moment, Pluto seemed to rise and speak to all of humanity. I'm not ordinary. Instead of disappearing after being demoted, Pluto became the new star of astronomy. It went from being an outcast to a symbol of pride at the edge of the solar system. And from 2015 until now, a new question has emerged. If Pluto has icy mountains, an atmosphere, a frozen heart, and a hidden ocean, is it really just a dwarf planet? Or are we misunderstanding the very concept of a planet? For centuries, humans looked up at the sky without any standard to classify what they saw. Any object that was slightly bright, slightly large, slightly different, was immediately declared a new planet. The result: at one point, the solar system was recorded to have nearly 20 planets. A chaotic era in astronomy. Objects only a few hundred kilometers wide, like Ceres, Pallas, Vesta, were also listed as planets. It's like calling a hill the Himalayas. The scientific community knew they had to do something. They needed to establish new rules. In 2006, the International Astronomical Union agreed on a completely new definition. A planet must satisfy 3 conditions. It orbits the sun. It has enough mass to assume a nearly round shape. And most importantly, it must clear its orbit, meaning it does not share its orbital path with any other large object. The problem lies in the 3rd condition. Pluto was too small, and it lay among thousands of similar objects in the Kuiper belt. It could not clear its orbit. And under the new rules, Pluto no longer qualifies as an official planet. It's not that Pluto is lacking. It's that humanity's standards have changed. Thus, Pluto entered a new chapter. The dwarf planet. It belonged to a completely different family. A place of mysteries yet to be solved. But the ironic paradox is this. New Horizons revealed that Pluto is far more complex and wondrous than many actual planets. The striking images from 2015 felt like a gentle yet proud reply. Pluto was demoted, but its beauty could not be diminished. And now, Pluto's story was truly beginning. Then in 1930, a young man named Clyde Tombaugh, a self-taught farmer who polished telescope mirrors in his small family home, was given a special mission: to search for Planet X, a hypothetical object believed to be disturbing the orbits of Neptune and Uranus. After months of observing and photographing the night sky, Tombaugh spotted a tiny, moving speck among the stars. It was Pluto. This discovery instantly placed Tombaugh in history, and Pluto became the 9th planet of the solar system. But ironically, what Tombaugh didn't know at the time was that Planet X didn't actually exist. The discrepancies in Neptune's orbital measurements had led astronomers to mistakenly believe there was a massive object tugging on it. Pluto was discovered completely by chance. And more importantly, it was far too small to exert any significant gravitational influence. Over time, as technology improved, more objects similar to Pluto were discovered beyond the Kuiper belt. Some are comparable in size and even larger. This forced the definition of a planet to change, and Pluto became the victim of its own historical paradox. In the 1930s, the definition of a planet was still quite simple. Astronomers only required two criteria. The object must orbit the Sun, and it must be dominant in its orbital zone, meaning it was not mixed in a crowd with hundreds of other objects like asteroids. Pluto met both criteria. When it was first discovered, it appeared as the only bright object at the far edge of the solar system. So, no one doubted including Pluto in the list of planets. But science never stands still. The more we observed, the more astronomers were puzzled. Pluto was too small. Its actual mass was only a fraction of the initially estimated mass. As technology advanced, it became clear that Pluto was not alone. Hundreds, then thousands of icy objects were discovered in a vast region beyond Neptune's orbit, later called the Kuiper belt. It was a gathering place for remnants left over from the chaotic early days of the solar system. An ancient junkyard of rock, ice, and fragments that never coalesced into planets. In that context, Pluto still held its own distinct place. A dwarf planet, yet a distant, cold, and mysterious symbol at the edge of the solar system. And when new horizons approached, humanity realized that Pluto was not just a lonely object. It was complex, vibrant, and stunning. Distant, yet still capable of capturing our imagination. Pluto, from a ninth planet in ancient dreams, became a victim of its own history. A paradox. The more we explored, the greater Pluto appeared, but it lost the title that once belonged to it. In that context, Pluto suddenly didn't seem as special as before. It wasn't the largest object in the belt. It was simply the brightest. Pluto's surface reflected sunlight extremely efficiently, making it stand out in the telescopes of the 1930s. This made Pluto appear larger, more significant, and more prominent than it actually was. As the truth gradually emerged, the scientific community had to acknowledge that Pluto was not alone, as they had once believed. By 2006, the International Astronomical Union, IU, introduced a new set of criteria for planets. In addition to orbiting the Sun and having enough mass to form a spherical shape, a planet must also clear its orbit. meaning it must fully dominate the region it moves through, not sharing space with other objects of comparable size. Jupiter could do it. Earth could do it. Even tiny Mercury could do it. But Pluto could not. It traversed a chaotic region of space. Where thousands of objects of similar size surrounded it. And so, under the new definition, Pluto was no longer considered a planet. Even after losing its title, Pluto retained all its beauty and wonder. The images from New Horizons proved it. Small, distant, yet never ordinary. It still stands there, challenging us to reconsider definitions, standards, and even ourselves. Yet Pluto's story is never that simple. Its orbit is so unusual that it can cross Neptune's path, sometimes bringing it closer to the Sun than that giant neighbor. At times, Pluto's path reaches distances comparable to Uranus, making it seem more like a lonely wanderer than a traditional, stable planet. It is precisely this peculiarity that has made Pluto a focal point of curiosity and debate. It seems indifferent to human definitions. Even after being demoted, it continues to drift along the edge of the solar system with an air of defiance. As if to remind us that the universe is too complex, too diverse to be confined by the concepts humans create. Pluto confounded astronomers from the very moment it was discovered. Not only because it was so distant that sunlight took over 5 hours to reach it, but also because of its peculiar behavior in the cosmic sky. The major planets of the solar system orbit the Sun in an almost flat, orderly plane. Like marbles neatly arranged on a giant glass table. Yet Pluto takes a different path. Its orbit is tilted by 17 degrees relative to the ecliptic plane, causing it to spend most of its time wandering above or below the common plane that the other planets faithfully follow. On top of that, Pluto's orbit is so extended that one of its years equals 248 Earth years. Meaning that since Beethoven composed his final symphony, Pluto has not yet completed a single orbit around the Sun. Pluto continues to wander, indifferent to definitions, indifferent to titles. It stands as a living testament to the diversity and irregularity of the universe. And this is what makes Pluto a symbol of unexpected greatness, small, distant, yet beyond human definitions. It stands there, quietly reminding us that the universe is always vast, wondrous, and full of surprises. This peculiarity adds another layer of complexity to the question that has puzzled astronomers for a century. Is Pluto truly a planet? While humans are busy trying to redefine what a planet is, Pluto shyly stands aside, as if reminding us that not everything in the universe fits the patterns we impose. It was precisely this peculiarity that inspired one of NASA's boldest missions in history, the launch of the New Horizons probe. And, ironically, the decision to launch came in the very same year that Pluto was demoted. As if, just when humanity was about to strip Pluto of its planet title, we decided to embark on a journey to explore it more thoroughly than ever before. But the distance to Pluto posed a colossal challenge. It was impossible to send a massive spacecraft and wait decades to reach it. Engineers at Johns Hopkins University had to design a probe astonishingly light, around 1,000 pounds, yet equipped with enough scientific instruments to decipher a world that had previously been nothing more than a speck of light in telescopes. They knew that to reach Pluto, the spacecraft had to travel faster than any human-made object before. So New Horizons was mounted on the most powerful Atlas V rocket of its time, supplemented with 5 additional booster engines, delivering nearly 2 million pounds of thrust. The result was astonishing. Just 9 hours after liftoff, the spacecraft had traveled the distance from Earth to the Moon, a journey that Apollo astronauts took more than 3 days to complete. With unprecedented speed, New Horizons began its 6.4 billion kilometer journey to Pluto, an adventure set to unravel a decades-long mystery. What secrets will this tiny world, demoted yet never ordinary, reveal to the eyes of humanity? Then, New Horizons plunged into the cold, empty void of the solar system. Every kilometer traveled was a step deeper into uncharted darkness. A year later, it began its approach to Jupiter. This was a golden opportunity to test all systems and a crucial trial to capture the first detailed images of the gas giant and its moons. The pictures of erupting volcanoes on Io convinced NASA that they were operating a flawless machine. But the greatest purpose of the Jupiter flyby was invisible gravity. Jupiter, with its massive weight, became a natural slingshot, propelling New Horizons farther and faster. Enough to cover the remaining journey to Pluto, a voyage that still took another 8 long years. By July 2015, humanity finally saw Pluto clearly with its own eyes. In the preceding months, Pluto and its largest moon, Charon, appeared in New Horizons cameras as faint points of light. But each day, they grew larger, sharper, like 2 figures slowly emerging from an 80-year-long fog. Charon is only half the size of Pluto, yet it orbits very close. Just about 19,000 to 20,000 kilometers away. For comparison, our moon is over 400,000 kilometers distant. These 2 celestial bodies seem to be dancing around each other, a spectacle humanity had never witnessed before. This close distance creates a rare phenomenon found almost nowhere else in the solar system, a double tidal lock. One side of Charon always faces Pluto, and simultaneously, one side of Pluto always faces Charon. If you stand on the hemisphere of Pluto opposite Charon, you would never see your moon. But on the other hemisphere, Charon is always present, large and clear in the sky, like a loyal companion frozen across millennia. Charon is so large compared to Pluto, nearly half its diameter, that the orbital center of both does not lie within Pluto, but in the space between them. Instead of Pluto standing still while Charon orbits, both hold hands, slowly revolving around a shared point in the cosmos. Some scientists even joke that they are orbiting a mini black hole, but in reality, it is just a complex gravitational dance operating naturally, yet extraordinarily strange. The double dance was just the prelude to the wonders New Horizons was about to capture. As the spacecraft approached and sent back its first images, all the speculations accumulated over decades suddenly seemed insignificant. Pluto is not a monotonous, cold, lifeless, icy sphere as once imagined. On the contrary, it appears like a painting crafted by a cosmic eccentric, deep red like aged wine, pale blue like a winter sky, milky white like frozen sea salt, streaked with bands of fiery yellow and orange, evoking a strangely warm feeling amidst the frigid minus 229 degrees Celsius. At Pluto's heart lies a vast, smooth, and serene plain, shaped like a heart, standing in peaceful contrast to the icy wilderness around it. It feels like a sign, a message to humanity. Even in the coldest and most distant places, beauty and order can still exist. Towering ice mountains, as high as the Alps, rise majestically, forming breathtaking landscapes amid absolute cold. These mountains are made of water ice, evidence that Pluto once had intense geological activity, even though temperatures are low enough to freeze everything solid. A thin atmosphere glows with a soft blue light, casting a delicate halo around Pluto. It is like a gentle veil, both protective and a reminder that this place is far from silent, despite its icy and solitary exterior. And just beneath the tens of kilometers thick ice layer, a liquid ocean may exist. Pluto, once thought cold and lifeless, could be harboring quietly moving waters.
Cold and dead.
A secret humanity is only beginning to comprehend. In that moment, Pluto seemed to rise and speak to all of humanity. I am not ordinary. It needs no title, no definition, simply existing, reminding us that the universe holds countless wonders that theories and numbers can never fully capture. The most striking feature on Pluto's surface is a gigantic heart-shaped region, both poetic and mysterious, as if sending humanity a message from the farthest reaches of the solar system. This heart is divided into two halves, each carrying its own story. The area closest to New Horizons is called Sputnik Planitia, a vast, flat plain of nitrogen ice, roughly the size of Texas. Astonishingly, its surface shows almost no signs of asteroid impacts, a sign that it is alive, constantly shifting and renewing itself through geological activity. At the northern edge, strange streaks appear, winding like frozen rivers flowing down the icy plain. But this is not water ice like on Earth. At minus 229 degrees Celsius, water is harder than granite and cannot flow. What flows on Pluto is nitrogen ice, light, soft, and able to move like frozen mud. As New Horizons zoomed in on Sputnik Planitia, scientists saw gigantic polygons, like the scales of an ancient creature stretching for tens of kilometers. They formed as the hundreds of meters thick nitrogen ice expanded, cracked, and healed in cycles of heating and cooling over millions of years. Each tile of the polygons is part of a giant, silent geological machine, creating a landscape unlike anywhere else in the solar system. Pluto, seemingly still, is in fact breathing, living to its own rhythm. From a distance, Sputnik Planitia looks like a vast patterned carpet, each polygon telling its own story of time and temperature, of Pluto's cold yet creative nature. Pluto's heart-shaped region is more than a geological landscape. It is a cosmic wonder, a reminder that even in the most distant and frigid places, beauty can bloom and thrive in ways humans can scarcely imagine. Through Sputnik Planitia, Pluto tells its own story of patience, of cycles spanning millions of years, of a world quietly alive yet full of vitality. It reminds us that even labeled a dwarf planet, Pluto remains an important and mysterious part of the solar system. The strange patterns on Pluto's icy plains are actually the result of a delicate convection mechanism operating deep within the dwarf planet's core. Heat from inside Pluto doesn't vanish. It slowly rises to the surface, warming the nitrogen ice and making it more flexible, ready to shift along subtle flowing currents. Unlike Earth, where water flows freely, the vacuum of space makes liquids nearly non-existent. Instead, nitrogen ice sublimates, shifting directly from solid to gas, rising to form a thin, delicate atmosphere hovering hundreds of kilometers above the surface. Pluto's unique atmosphere, clear yet fragile, like a sheer veil surrounding the planet. With its weak gravity, only about a millionth of Earth's, Pluto cannot hold this atmosphere tightly. It expands and contracts along its unusual elliptical orbit. As Pluto approaches the Sun, sublimation increases, the atmosphere thickens, and pressures can reach a quarter of Earth's, 3 times that of Mars, opening the possibility for liquid nitrogen on the surface. On the surface, the deep red patches of Cthulhu Macula and Balin Regio stand out like streaks of blood against the icy landscape. This red color is created by organic compounds called tholins, formed when sunlight and cosmic radiation break down methane and CO2 in the atmosphere, combining and transforming into a vivid crimson hue. These red coatings are not random. They move with the flow of ice and gas, and may even be transported by small amounts of liquid nitrogen. Pluto, seemingly frozen and lifeless, actually hosts a strange and dynamic flow system across its surface. Through these intricate mechanisms, Pluto is no longer a silent dwarf planet. It lives, breathes, and evolves, proving that even in the coldest reaches of the solar system, vitality persists, hidden within every layer of ice and every delicate gust of its tenuous atmosphere. Beneath Pluto's icy crust lies one of its most striking mysteries, the ice volcano Right Mons. Rising about 5 kilometers high and spanning up to 150 kilometers wide, It doesn't spew lava like Earth volcanoes, but instead erupts a viscous mixture of water and methane, of frozen mud under extreme cold conditions. Right Mons shows almost no impact craters, indicating ongoing geological activity, continuously renewing itself over cosmic time. Eruptions may occur once every millions of years, yet they are sufficient to maintain a youthful, vibrant surface, completely unlike the static image of a cold, lonely dwarf planet. What makes Pluto even more unusual is its internal heat. Unlike the icy moons of giant planets, Pluto stands alone at the edge of the solar system, yet still retains a warm core. Past collisions with Charon may have transferred additional energy, maintaining temperatures high enough for nitrogenized convection and cryovolcanism to remain active to this day. The famous heart-shaped region on Pluto lies opposite Charon, and the deep red Tholen deposits also appear similarly on Charon. It seems the two bodies have been performing a complex cosmic dance together for billions of years. Right Mons is the largest and most recognizable ice volcano on Pluto. Despite its immense size, it has only a single impact crater across its entire surface, proving that it is not an ancient remnant, but continuously renewed. Pluto is far from silent. This dwarf planet is alive, breathing, and changing. The origin of the icy mud mixture is a mystery. Before New Horizons, Pluto was imagined as a cold, drifting ice block. But the data revealed that Pluto's core remains warm, with a vast subsurface ocean quietly lying beneath its frozen exterior. This structure is reminiscent of the icy moons of the giant gas planets, like Europa or Titan, where internal heat is generated by gravitational forces from the parent planet. But Pluto does it alone at the farthest edge of the solar system. Thanks to its icy volcanoes and hot core, Pluto is no longer a quiet dwarf planet. It lives, breathes, and changes, proving that even in the coldest places, vitality persists, hidden deep within its ice layers, flowing slurries, and the vivid colors on its surface. But Pluto is different. It is small, lonely, residing in the extreme cold of the solar system, with no giant neighbors nearby. So where does the heat come from to sustain its subsurface ocean and active icy volcanoes? The answer lies right next to Pluto, Charon, its unique and special moon, almost equal in size to Pluto itself. Billions of years ago, Pluto and Charon collided directly. Instead of shattering or merging, the impact created a perpetual gravitational struggle, injecting energy into Pluto and maintaining internal heat sufficient for geological activity to continue even today. The famous location of the heart region, Sputnik Planitia, lies directly opposite Charon, and it's no coincidence. The energy from the collision and gravitational forces reaches deep into Pluto's structure, keeping the nitrogen ice heart alive with flowing currents, cracks, and mesmerizing polygonal patterns. Not only Pluto, but Charon also shows dark red tholins at its northern pole, possibly ejected from Pluto's icy volcanoes, escaping its weak gravity, drifting through space, and landing on the moon's surface. The two bodies seem to still exchange material, making Pluto no longer alone, existing as a vibrant, bizarre and mysterious world where ice, atmosphere, and internal energy together paint an unprecedented geological masterpiece. The sad part is that the spectacular images sent back by New Horizons will likely be the last glimpses of Pluto we will ever witness in our lifetimes. We have just witnessed a vibrant icy world, but now it exists only through the photos and data that have been preserved. After several days passing Pluto, the spacecraft plunged straight into the dark depths of the Kuiper belt. Pluto, in that vast emptiness, was only the brightest object visible to the naked eye. Not the largest, not the strangest, just a point of light that drew the gaze from afar. New Horizons was heading into a completely unexplored region, where matter, ice, rock, and sunlight combined in ways beyond human imagination. The oddities the probe would encounter were likely even greater than Pluto, opening a cosmic tale of distant, mysterious worlds. The story of the distant universe has left a profound impression. The greatness, solitude, and mystery of the worlds at the edge of the solar system are endless, inviting humanity to continue exploring. Thank you for accompanying Comic Light on this journey to uncover the distant and extraordinary secrets of the cosmos. If you love adventurous explorations and stories about unknown worlds, please subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Every view and every share is a valuable encouragement that helps us continue bringing new discoveries from the distant edges of the solar system.